Hello, Jude. Good afternoon, ladies. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Joy, Ebere, Bumi. Hope you're all doing well. Okay, so while waiting for others to join, let's kindly put in the chat box your name, where you're joining from, and what you do. So good afternoon, ladies. Trust you're all doing well. So just be starting in a few minutes. So good afternoon, everyone, once again. My name is Halima, and I'm at the Enterprise Development Center, in case you're just joining and you don't know that. And this session is the MTN Foundation Transforming Nigerian Youth Program, Yellowpreneur Program for Facilitator-led session. So today's session, we'll be looking at operations management, how you can better manage your operations, the concept of operations management, how have you been, so you get insights from our very well expert, Mr. Adebi Oladipo, who would share insights on how you can basically enhance your operations management of your business so that you're able to scale and also be more efficient. So Judy, you can go ahead and start recording now. So please, if you're just joining us, put in the chat box your name, what you do, and where you're joining from. Able to also use that as examples or case studies while we're progressing within the webinar session. So good afternoon, Mr. B. Mr. Oladipo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Halima. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for joining us. And
thank you. And good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. So please, just a few housekeeping rules. If you want to put a question and you don't want it to be missed, kindly use the Q&A box. And some people are raising their hands now, but kindly let's wait until the session has begun. Then you can go ahead and raise your hands, and then we might unmute you should time permit us. So good afternoon once again, and I would like to hand over to the facilitator to basically share his screen and start the session.
Just give me a few minutes. I'm trying to load the slides.
Okay. All right. So while you're doing that, I would just like to find out from the class or from the participants. So what are your expectations from this session? Let's just start putting that in the chat box, and I can be reading some of them out while the slides are being presented. Hi, Stella, Abigail, Jane, Rukaya from Ilorin, and she's an entrepreneur. Hello, Lucy Olamide from Akure, Ondo State. Kafayat is from Kafi's Foodies Enterprises. So I'm reading both the comments from those joining us on YouTube and then those that are joining us directly on the Zoom platform. So Peace wants to learn a detailed description of how she can better manage her business. Udwak says to be more professional in my operational management. Awesome. So let's put in the chat box what we hope to learn from this session. Rashida says to have a better understanding on how to run my business profitably. Awesome. And of course, operations management would be able to help you do that, because once you manage your operations, then you're able to produce more output, reduce the time spent and whatnot. Margaret says how to manage her business. Awesome. Ugochi says, have a better understanding of managing the operations side of my business. Okay. Hasana wants to learn how to improve on her productivity. Awesome. Who else? So those are YouTube. I'm yet to see what you hope to learn from this session. So kindly put in the chat box what you hope to learn. Joy says to be able to run my business efficiently. Great. Let me continue reading more. Husseina says she wants to understand how to develop her management skills. Of course, yes. Of course, if you need to have an operations manager or, or how to better improve yourself as a manager yourself. So would be able to do that. Chika says she wants to have a better understanding how to manage her infant business. So of course, she's just starting out and she wants to know how to manage it. And be her business. Great.
Okay, I think Halima's, Halima, you back?
Yes, I am. Apologies for
Oh,
that.
okay. I initially thought it was from my end. I'm in a very remote area, so I thought it was from my end.
No, it's from my end. Apologies.
Oh, right.
So,
Okay.
So where was I? Okay, I was reading out some expectations. I don't know if you're able. Okay, awesome. You're sharing your screen. So Abigail says her expectation is to improve on networking business and be more skillful. All right. And we have more. Please keep them coming from both the chat box. Grace says she wants to be able to separate her profit from expenses of her business. Okay. Were you in the finance class that we had last time? Maybe we'll share those details so that you can be able to do that. Caroline says she's expecting to have a deeper understanding on operations management and how to apply it to her business. Oluchi wants to learn the ethics guiding entrepreneurs. Okay. Chi says she wants to learn how to improve herself and manage her own business. Awesome. So in case you're just joining and you have any network connectivity issues, not to worry, would be sharing the recording and the slides with you. So that's fine. Sabi, are you still there?
I'm here actually, but it's taking a while for my slides to load. I don't know if it's a function of network where I am, but I'm trying to see the best that can happen.
Okay.
It's taking till forever. Okay, we can start the gist while the slides are trying to load, so I don't keep people waiting here. We don't have too long a time to stay. Operations management is not something that we can do in one and a half hours, but we will try to see the best that we can do during that period. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm actually going to put off the video so that we can, I can maximize the bandwidth because of where I am. I'm outside Lagos, and you know how network can be outside Lagos and Abuja and Port Harcourt. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today and share my thoughts on ways that we can enhance and optimize our operations as we strive towards efficiency and towards I see a lot of people that were talking about, managing their businesses well, things around maximizing their operations, making their businesses profitable. What I always tell people is this, that operations management sits right in the middle of everything that has to do with your business. And it's what helps you to know if you are, at the end of the day, going to be able to run that business profitably or not. There are a few questions that I like to ask at the beginning of a session like this, because if you are able to answer those questions, it would help you to be able to know where to start from as far as your business is concerned. Okay? Sorry, I'm having to restart the... Okay, I'm having to restart the slides so that we can, I hope it works this time around. Okay, so I was saying that there are a series of questions that I like to ask when I have an opportunity to share my thoughts with people as far as operations management is concerned. And those questions, so if you're here and you can hear me, I will ask those questions and I would expect that you put your own responses put in the chat room, both the chat room and on the and in the chat box for YouTube. So whether you are in whether you are in the Zoom room or you are in the, what is it called? Whether you're in the Zoom room or you are in the YouTube room, sorry, the name just flew off my head. Whether you're in the Zoom room or you're in the YouTube room, whichever one you're in, just answer the questions and then we'll see how best to position this. So the first question is, what does your customer want? That's the first question. What does your customer want? I'd like to see your answers, your responses. What does your customer want? Okay, just put your answers in the... Okay, let me see the responses. So I hear value, I see value, I see value for what they pay for, I see satisfaction, I see satisfied service, I see value for their money, I hear quality. My customers want a solution to their needs, good service, quality. Customers want satisfaction and value. Value for their money, satisfaction, value, better services for both goods and kind, satisfaction and value, and so on. Now, I now ask a second question on that, but this is not part of the main question. If you're talking about value, you're talking about quality, you need to start thinking again that what does that represent? as far as your business is concerned. Who determines what value is? If we were in a physical session, I really would like to, take some thoughts around this to say, okay, who determines value? What does value mean to you? What does value mean to the person who is receiving it? But these are questions that we can determine. But the long and short of it is that whatever quality you're talking about is dependent on who is receiving it and who is willing to pay for it. A lot of times, most of us, we mistake value for standards. Yes, every good, every service has specific standards that they need to follow and they need to conform with, especially when it has to do with us being able to conform to some certain regulations and basic safety standards for things that people consume. When I say consume, I don't mean just ingestion. Consuming also means whatever people use. So there are basic standards, all right? But the value that the customer derives on it depends on whatever that customer really wants to solve for. I saw somebody said that they want to be able to meet their products to meet the needs of the customer. So what that means is that every customer has a perception of value, and we must be able to deliver to that customer's value. And that's where operations management starts for me. Starts from you looking at the market and then asking yourself, what does my customer really want? What do they really need? How am I providing solution to their issues? And that helps me to come back, take a few steps backwards and say, okay, this is how I'm going to produce for them in such a way that I'm able to satisfy their needs and I'm also able to make money and make an impact. Okay, so that's the first question. What do your customers want? Okay, the second question, what do your goods and services suppliers want? So take to the chat rooms again and then tell me, what do your suppliers want? The people who supply you goods and services in order for you to be able to serve your own customers and deliver that value that we talked about. What do they also want? Okay. All right, so integrity, transition, credibility. Oh no, network is bad, it's not part of the answer as well. I saw network is bad there, that one is not part of the answer. Okay, quality product, honesty, credibility, long-term relationship, consistency. Oh, going faster than, wow, I love this. Going faster than trust and satisfaction, frequent supplies, prompt payment, quality and reliable products. They want goods they can profit from. Okay, consistency. My suppliers want me to keep buying from them. So consistency, all right. Loyalty, yeah, same thing. Transparency, prompt payment, so you pay them promptly. Reliability, ability to pay for material supplies and on time too. Good. They want good products. They want payment that is prompt. They want consistency and trust, consistency, credibility, blah, 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 and also ensuring that they are also in business, long-term relationship. They also need my feedback. Good, quality and affordable clothing. I want to believe that you are in fashion. Okay. Honesty and integrity. My suppliers want honesty, credibility, and consistency. Yeah, and so on. Quick delivery, etc., etc. Now, from the things that you have written down, one of the things that I see, or I can summarize it to say, hey, your suppliers are looking, this is based on what you have told me. Your suppliers are looking for something that to work with someone who they can reliably plan around who will not look for the cheapest one and then throw their own projections out into the market, into the gutters. Your suppliers are looking for someone who they can trust and is reliable, of course, who pays them promptly. Now, if you look at all of this, you will notice that there's a pattern. From the things that the customers want to the things that the suppliers want, there's some similarities, and that similarity is coming out of the fact that every one of them, whether it's customer, they want reliability. They want to be sure that you are there tomorrow, to be able to provide, whether you are buying from them or you are selling to them, to be able to provide that service for them. Now, if you are not sustainable, if you are not one whose operation is also predictable, you might not be able to provide these services to them. Excellent. The third question is, you as the business owner, what is it that you want to achieve? As the business owner, what do you want to achieve? As the business owner, what do you want to achieve? Okay, Kafayat started by saying profit. Somebody said growth, profit. Say money, thank you. Larger market, profit. Solve problem. Okay, profit. Alert. I also like alert too. It's not only you that likes alert. Alert, you know that alert that causes earthquake. That's the type that I like. Okay. Brand of first choice. So which means you want to be in the consciousness of the customer. So it's either you or you first. So you have the first right of refusal with your customers. Excellent. Profit, satisfy my customers. Growth and profitability. But I like the way you have put it, to be able to satisfy them. And then when you are able to satisfy them and you keep the customers happy, you are also going to grow, and then you will remain profitable. And I like the fact that you're all very profit-oriented, because that's the only way you can ensure that you are sustainable as a business. Okay, remain in business, building a brand that will stand the test of time, expansion, sustained growth, solve problems, growth and stability. Thank you all. Now, from what I can see, yes, you want to make money, but I'm hearing that people want to grow and people want to remain there for the long run. And the only way you can do that is if you are able to meet the yearnings of the market and you are able to sustain your operations in such a way that you meet the yearnings of the market and you keep the everybody in your ecosystem, all your stakeholders, you are able to keep them happy, and you're doing the things that would make them sustainable or make them happy and keep them happy. Let me try to see if I could load these slides again. All right, excellent. Okay, can we all see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so the next question, your employees, what do they want to achieve? What do your employees want to achieve? So let's go back to the chat room and then bring this out. In the chat room, okay. What do your employees want to achieve? Okay. Satisfy children assimilation insurance as well as buyer satisfaction become. No, this is to the former question. So somebody says growth, regular pay, dedication and improved productivity, independence, excellent service, salary. They want assurance that they can be paid, job satisfaction, growth. So get built up as well as make money, all right, make sales, increase in wages or salaries, my skills. So if my employees want my skills, well, I don't understand what that means, but it's okay. Job satisfaction, conducive environment, job satisfaction, excellent service, high performance, okay, success, assurance of getting paid, growth and to raise the standard of living, all right, financial independence. It means we have to pay them well to be financially independent, career growth, building a legacy, customer satisfaction, security, growth and expansion. Thank you, Udwa. Employees growth and benefits, all right, excellent services. I like the part of security. Because whichever way you look at it, one of the most important things that employees are looking for is being secured and then followed by growth. Okay, and of course, being paid as at when due. Now, all of these things that we're talking about can only happen for the employees if the business itself is sustainable. So you're running it in such a way that there's sustainability within that business. You're running it in such a way that your operation is so efficient that you're able to meet your needs and be able to meet your obligations to your stakeholders, including your employees. All right, thank you. Thank you. So let's ask again. What do the government want from you? What does the government want from you? Okay, tax, return, tax from service, tax. Oh, support. Somebody says support. To pay my tax revenue. Someone said tax eco-friendly products. Halima Abdulrahman, thank you. Eco-friendly products. Healthy products. Yeah, Ogechi, thank you also. Healthy products. Okay. Let me see. My revenues, tax. All right. Good remuneration belief. If you pay bananas, you get more. I think this is to the employees. The question on the employees. Thank you, Rashidat Rahim, to help curb unemployment tax, social development. Thank you. Thanks. Now, I'm not saying government doesn't want tax. Government wants tax. However, if you are able to take people off the streets and create employment, for people, the government would also appreciate that. Okay, job creation, thank you. Job creation, all of that. So these are all things that, yes, to be a law-abiding business, okay, law-abiding business, you're creating employment, you're doing all of that, and then you are ensuring that people are taking off the streets, and that also helps the cause of the government. I was explaining this to some people on, I think that was on Monday, where we were looking at, responsibility, being a responsible corporate citizen. And I told people that, listen, we all look at government concerned about taxation. If you are able to employ people and take them off the job market, what you are doing is that you're actually assisting them to carry out some of their own responsibilities. For places where you put people on social benefits, the more people you employ, the less monies the government has to spend on social benefits. So that helps to do them. And how can you do this? You can't do this if you, as a business owner, is also not running your own business sustainably and your operations are not efficient. Okay, because it's the extra money that you have that you use to employ people, and like that. The more money you make, the more the ability for you to be able to employ people and put them more on. So the last question, which I don't want you to answer. I'm not looking at you answering this. Is how do we all achieve what we want? And that's the discussion that we're having today. To say, how do we ensure that we're able to meet our obligations to everybody, including ourselves, and still remain in business? And that's where the issues around operations management comes in. Because the more efficient we are as a business, the more the ability for us to be able to stick with our plans and also be able to go ahead and remain responsible corporate citizens. So, where does it all start? How do we stay on the path of efficiency as a business? Do we have the right operations strategy? Do we have what it takes in order for us to be able to deliver our products and services in an efficient way so that all the questions that we've asked ourselves will be answered and answered effectively? So just talking about what operations is. So I'm simplifying this. This is the simplest definition of operations that you can think of. You take resources, transform it, it becomes a product and service or a service. Now, the resources that you're taking can be from anything, could be capital, could be raw materials, could be whatever, and then you put some processes into it, you transform those things, and then they become goods that are usable by someone. So your resources could be labor, materials, finance, equipment, land, building, utilities, every other thing that you think of that you use in delivering your product or service is what resources are. But the processes that you use to transform them is the process of operations. If it's manufacturing, we call it's your production process. But if it is service, then it is your operations process. So the question you now need to ask yourself, how important is this production process, this area of transformation, how important it is it? Now I'll explain that and break it down for us all. Your resources are finite, we know them. When they go through transformation, we know what the products will look like. But what I'm not sure is the process of operations, the process of transforming those resources into products or service. It is within that place that we can either be bleeding as a business or we are gaining ground. We're gaining grounds means that our processes are so well aligned that we're making money from it at the end of the day. So we're producing at very good cost. We are producing efficiently. We are making sure that the price of we are producing, the cost at which you are producing is much lower than the price that we are selling the goods. So it's in the point of is at the point of transformation that operations management comes in order for us to be able to manage our costs and produce, whether it is product or service, we'll produce them efficiently. So we say operations management sits at the center of the business and ensures that every other thing is properly aligned, from where we get our inputs to how we control the processes that transforms the inputs into final product or service. When you miss it with operations, you actually miss it as far as efficient management of your resources are concerned. And that's why it's important for us to take thoughts and share thoughts around what operations management is and what it can do, for. A lot of times, and I'll give this example. So I don't know if any one of you were part of, I had this experience before. So you go into a restaurant and it's an eat all you can kind of thing, or maybe say it's a buffet. And people have to, queue and go around the different dishes in order for you to be able to pick up your food and things that you want to eat. Now, if you do not manage that process well, you have so many, especially when you have people, a lot of people. So I'll give an example. The last 3 days, we were at an event, and in the hotel, Live Hotel, I won't mention the name, they had so many, they had a number of events running at the same time. Unfortunately, they did not plan the lunch time well, such that people got up from their meetings, and all of us, all the different meetings converged at the restaurant at the same time. I should have taken a photograph of it and showed you today for you to see how not to manage your operations. What happened? You had disgruntled customers, dissatisfied customers, all those things that you want to achieve. When I ask the question, what do customers want? All those things was the other side of it. So if I even went ahead to complain, call the owners, for those who knew the owner, called the owners of the hotel, spoke with them, how not to manage their operations. It was really, there's some food that people liked was just not there. Why? They didn't manage their operation process properly. So you get into the restaurant, just see a whole load of people, see queues, and so many people lining up at the the different serving dishes, and there was absolutely nothing, and people were just walking around. That's not how to manage your operation. When I had discussions with the manager who was in charge of the food and beverage manager of the hotel, I told him, you don't schedule people to come in at the same time. You have like different events running at the same time. You schedule some to come in at 12 noon, schedule another to come in at 12:45, another to come in at 12:45, 1:30, like that, until You have 3 o'clock or 3:30 when your restaurants will close for lunch. So you would have done that in such a way that there's a seamless, and you leave like a 5 to 10 minutes gap between them, which will be an overlap between the last set of people who are coming from the last batch and the new people who are coming. So you have a little buffer that you can bring food from the kitchen to come and, replenish the ones that people had taken. Now, when you do that, what you're doing for yourself is that, one, you're making sure that your kitchen staff also have what it takes to make sure that the food never runs out, and you're able to plan adequately. Okay, so operations management helps you to oversee and plan your delivery efficiently. It helps you to plan your production, helps you to plan your manufacturing, it also helps you to gather data that you can analyze and know how to optimize the operations as it is. And of course, you know where to get your inputs and all of those things. Now, in general, operations management has to do with designing and controlling the process of production operations, and also helps based on the data that you have gathered. Remember the questions that we asked. What do you want? What do the customers want? All of those questions. By the time you're asking those questions over and over again, whatever it is that you're doing, those questions, the answers to them, the data that you gather will help you in designing your business operations and your processes. So let's look at some components and some contents of operations management. I'll spend a bit of time on this, and I probably would close the discussion on this. Like I said, 1.5 hours is just a tip of the iceberg to talk about operations management. Okay. I see someone says network is fluctuating. Can you hear me well? Yes, you're right, Perpetual. When customers are dissatisfied, you will start losing them. And which was the message I communicated to the excellent. Thank you. Which was the message I communicated to one of the owners of the hotel yesterday? That listen, you have a great brand, you have a good name, it's an international brand, but guess what? If you do not manage this little thing well, you begin to have dissatisfied customers on your hands, and you start to lose business. Nobody wants to bring their event because people make it. If you know the economics of hotels, the room is just to cover costs. That's the economics of hotels. The room is just to cover your costs. Where they really make money from is the food and beverages, as well as events. So people coming to host events there. That's where they make money from. And if people stop bringing their events to where you are, then you begin to run into trouble. Please, can we keep everything that has to do with administrative things? Someone said they filled form for 3 times. No cost was allocated. Please, let's keep all those admin things off this platform, please. Let's use this just for engagement in this program, all right, or in this session. Thanks. All right, now, so let's look at some contents of some components of operations management. I'll take my time to go through them one after the other, and then we can start our engagement with that. Okay. every operation, everything that you want to do revolves around your input and your output. Your input being the resources that you use, could be raw materials, could even be human resources. So the people who deliver the services for you. Selecting the right input is the first step at guaranteeing the right or the correct output. Let me go back again. Selecting the right input is what guarantees that you will have the right output. And I'll give you an example. Somebody who runs a restaurant and makes food. Personally, I like to eat buka food. You know buka? Yes, I like to eat buka food. So I'm going to a mama put. And the mama put, because the woman or the man running the mama put wants to maximize profits. Now, maximizing quotes. Wants to maximize profit, decided to go to the market and then buy all those reject tomatoes and peppers. In Yoruba, they call them mesha. Those ones that are not the real thing, so they come out from all the other ones. There's no way, no matter how much condiment, how much seasoning you put, broken tomatoes, the semi-rotten ones and the rotten ones. Thank you, Suliat and good work. There's no way you would no matter how much seasoning you put on it, there's no way the output will be like somebody who went to the market, paid the premium, and bought fresh, very fresh tomatoes and peppers. You can't compare them. Even if the person who bought fresh did not add any other spices or whatever, just use a little salt to sweeten the thing, the output is still going to be much better than somebody who used rotten and semi-rotten peppers and tomatoes. So this gives you an idea of what input, the quality of input can do to the quality of your output. If you go to the market, the job market, and you recruit the worst of human beings to come and work for you, the output you will get will not be the same. Simply because you say, now it's a small business, that's what I can afford. Yes, that's what you can afford. But out of what you can afford, can you actually look out for people who have certain qualities that matches with your own idea of where you want to take your business to? The quality of input affects the quality of output. When we're talking about what the suppliers want the other time, it's also important to note that picking the customer that gives you the right input, the supplier that gives you the right input, is extremely important because that's what guarantees the kind of output that you go to. I know a lady who makes food, and thank you. Garbage in, garbage out. Please, can we keep the admin things off this platform, please? I'll appreciate it. Okay. Whatever it is you put in is what you get out. If the quality of input is not right, the quality of output will also go that same way. And so it's important for us to take our time to get the right quality. I was telling a story of knowing a lady who makes food. And this lady, everybody, in Nigeria, when you talk about food that the person is selling, the food is, they say, Najas. I always tell people, in food, though, jazz can only catch you once. It's only once that the jazz will catch you. If the food is not sweet, jazz will not catch you a second time. Because you won't go there. So the jazz won't work. But if the food is nice, the jazz, if not jazz, the jazz will work. Okay? But I tell people that food has only one jazz. And the jazz is that the food is good and it's delicious. All right? So this lady that I'm talking about, this lady starts cooking at 12 noon. She starts cooking at 12 noon and she finishes cooking at about 2:30, 2:45 or 3 o'clock thereabout. Guess what? By 5 o'clock, the food is gone. It's finished completely. Every day, Monday to Friday. She doesn't cook on weekends. Monday to Friday, that's it. And you just wonder. But guess what, guys? That food, there's nobody I know who has eaten that food that doesn't go back. There's nobody that I know that has eaten that food that doesn't go back. One day I sat with her and I went to her and I said, is there a special thing that you do that makes this food come out like this? Very consistent, very, very consistent food. And she looked at me and she smiled and she said that every day she leaves her house at 5 a.m. and goes to buy all she needs for the day, including the meat. She will go to the abattoir where they're just killing the cow to buy the cow that she uses to cook. She will go to the people who are planting tomatoes and peppers and she buys from them fresh. We're talking about managing the process of producing your goods, your product and service. The input guarantees the quality of input, guarantees the quality of output. When she told me that, it just made sense to me that, hey, this is why this food is like this. Fresh ingredients for the day, and then tomorrow, the same thing. She goes round again, leaves the house at 5 a.m., goes around, buys the things. By the time she comes back, it's about 11:30, and she starts cooking at 12. Quality of input guarantees the quality of output. All right, so the quality does really matter. So I don't know what your business is. I don't know what goods you are producing. I don't know what service you are rendering. But make sure that whatever input you are using, the quality is right. All right? That's the first one. The second one is the resources, other resources that you have. It could be capital. Raising the right type of capital would also help you. Avoiding mismatch, capital mismatch. Very essential. I'll give you an example of what capital mismatch is. So somebody goes to the bank and then borrows a working capital loan. And instead of using it for working capital, that is 27%. 27% and 3 months tenure, 90 days. And you use it to buy an equipment. Very soon, you'll be stifled. So, well, this is not a finance class, but I'm just using it to illustrate the kind of resources that you have. Okay, so you have to be very, very mindful of it. It also includes human resources. And I'll spend a little bit of time on the matter of human resources. A lot of us just think that the cost of resource is about, yes, it's capital mismatch, I think. A lot of people think that the cost of human resource is about the salary that you pay. Guys, if you spend, oh, sorry, guys are not here, ladies. Ladies, if you have the wrong human resource and it's only because the only reason you took that decision is because this is what I have, the money that I have to pay. The cost in terms of damages and things that the person will do to you will be more expensive than the cost of that human capital or the salary that you are paying that person. For the life of me, I still find it very difficult to reconcile how somebody will commit an equipment that is worth 50 million naira into the hands of somebody that you pay 20,000 naira a month. I find it very difficult to reconcile. Now, am I saying you should employ people who are more expensive than what you can afford? Far be it from it. I'm saying employ somebody who is capable, somebody who is knowledgeable, somebody who is skilled to do whatever it is you want the person to do. And then pay wages that are commensurate to the work that the person is doing. If not, what you'll be covering in terms of losses or damages or rejects will be more compared to how much you are paying that person. So it's important for us to understand these things. I tell this story. Of course, Gladys Maman, wrong human resource can send you out of business one time, quickly, before you even know what you're out of business, before you know what's happening. I always give this example. The example is in terms of, so this example, I've used this severally. Sometimes I can ask myself if I still want to use it, but it illustrates the thing very well. So I still use it all the time. So someone I used to work for bought a car, big car. The man spent $275,000 buying a particular car. This was in 2004. He bought the car, wanted to use it as a gift for himself for his birthday. The manufacturers of the car, before they shipped the car to him, sent us a message, sent us an email. We should tell them the person who wrote it, ask a few questions. So I won't bother myself. I will just look at the one that concerns me. No, it also concerns it. So the first thing they asked was, do we have where a particular brand of car can be serviced in Nigeria? And we responded, yes, we have. Now, the reason they are doing that is so that they will be sure that that car can be maintained here in Nigeria. Okay. How many of us buy equipment that we don't have the expertise to maintain? And then it becomes a problem to us because we just have it sitting there and nothing is happening to it. Okay, so resources, the equipment that you can't maintain, how do you now make sure that the equipment works efficiently and works for you? So that was the first question they asked us. Do we have where we can service a particular brand of car? We answered yes. Then they asked who is going to drive the car. And in my mind, I'm like, what's your business with the person who is going to drive the car? That's a big lesson from it. A big operations management lesson from it. We sent them the name of the person. They said we should send the guy's CV. I don't know where driver has CV, but we have to create a CV and send it to them. And they asked us, how much is that person paid? And we're like, what's their business? It's how much the person is paid. then they asked, they did that. So we told them how much, and they told us no. If the guy is going to drive their car that they have not shipped, this is how much the person has to be paid. Now, if you look at it, the difference between what the guy was being paid and what they are asking the guy to be paid was about 130,000 naira. About 120,000 naira. The guy was paid 30,000. We was paid 25,000. But we jacked it up to 30,000, so that's what we paid him. And they asked us to pay the guy 150,000 naira. So I still didn't understand it at that point. But later I got to understand. They didn't want somebody who is going to handle the car that has nothing at stake on the car so that the car starts breaking down from time to time. They didn't want that. So they wanted to make sure that the person was properly remunerated. All right. So when we agreed that that's all, we had to sign and agree that that's all we will pay the guy. Then they now said we had to send the guy for training. We had to send the guy to the US for training. I mean, whenever I say it, people wonder, training for driver in the US. Yes, we had to send this guy to the US for training. Of course, it was all covered in the cost of the car. So they paid for the guy's ticket, but we had to make sure that the guy got a visa to go. By the time this guy came back, his mentality had changed, his orientation had changed. The guy felt personally responsible for the car. You know how you will normally struggle with people on the road and all of that? This guy was extremely careful by the time he came back. Why? He had something at stake. If that car had a downtime, it means that the 150,000 that he was earning in 2004, the 150,000 that the guy was earning, means he wasn't going to be earning it anymore. Okay, so understanding this would help you in the choice of, apart from, we talked about the right input, right output, and also right human resource to handle certain things for you. Don't cut back on improving the skills of your people. There's a very huge result difference between a properly skilled human resource and a managed human resource. When you are managing the human resource, you also be managing the output that human resource brings. All right, and all of this have implications as far as your operations are concerned. Okay, strategy. How do you want to produce? Do you want to adopt a situation where you handle everything from beginning to the end? That was more profitable for you and more efficient for you. Or do you want to ensure that you concentrate on the things that you are best suitable to produce, and then you farm out and outsource some of the things that you can't, that somebody else is best suited to produce? All right. It's important for you to sit down and listen to that and look at that. So I work with a client who is in the packaging business, a small business too, in the packaging business. So this gentleman in their factory, we looked at their operations and we discovered that there was a bottleneck in their operations. And the bottleneck is the first process in their production, which was cutting some certain wood to place. Now, they used the hand saw. Electric, yes, they had electric hand saw, but it was hand that they used to cut it. Now, when they started, we discovered that Every other person on the factory floor had to wait until those cuttings have been done. Extremely inefficient. Then I asked them, in your city, in this city that you are, don't you have people who have electric saws who can do this cutting for you, and then you contract it to them? They said they have this anyway. I was able to convince them to do that. Guess what? By the time they started doing that, it cut down the time that they spent in the production of each item. Cut it down by like over 50% of time. So we discovered that the inefficiency they were running was from that first process. So what strategy do you want to adopt? Do you want to produce everything? Do you want to outsource some? There are some people, like in the consulting business, who've learned to collaborate so well. So well. There are things that I have expertise in that some other firms don't have expertise in. So they call me to come in and deliver that part for them. There are some things some other firms have expertise in that I don't, or my own firm does not. I call people who have that expertise, bring them in, and then ask them to deliver to the customer. Of course, we have an agreement that when I go to your customer's site, I am you. I'm from your company, not my own. The same way when you go to my own customer site, it's the same way. And we have an agreement that we sign and ensure that that happens. All right, so it's important for you to determine what strategy you want to outsource, you want to run everything on your own. I like the Americans, and I'll tell you why I like them. They have concentrated on the things that they are best suitable to do. When their former president, Donald Trump, kept complaining that China has stolen all their jobs, China has stolen all their jobs, they are taking the jobs away from them, they are this, they are that. Said, listen, it was a deliberate strategy from their side. Yes, Joy, it's called comparative advantage. Thank you. You know, in the afternoon, I don't speak too much English, so I'm always very careful to make people understand. Right? Now, when he made that statement that I said, no, China did not steal your job. You willingly gave those jobs to China because you wanted to concentrate on developing the intellectual property and bringing out the designs, getting China to produce or manufacture, bringing it back to you, and then you will sell. So you have developed your intellectual capacity to design and bring out new products, and also to sell. While the Chinese were building their own capacity to manufacture and to, so like I think it's Joy said, it's comparative advantage. What do I have an advantage? What am I best suited to do? Okay, so ask yourself, what am I best suited to do? And is that what I am doing? Or do I want to keep doing everything, but do them in an inefficient manner? All right. Do I want to automate? Do I want to run manually? I tell people that it's not a sin to do things manually. However, you also need to ask yourself, how efficient will this be? What's the efficiency of it? All right. So that's what determines what you set out to do in the first instance. How do you want to approach the market? Remember the first question, what do customers want? How do you set out to address the things that the customer wants? That will determine the strategy that you adopt. There are some goods that they are best produced by hand. And some of them, they use them as strategy. They will tell you it is handmade, handcrafted. There are some shoes. There are some shoes that I've come across. They will tell you it is handcrafted. Some ties, they will tell you it is handcrafted, handmade, hand knitted. It's a strategy. But that depends on the market that you're serving and the things that you set out to do. What operation strategy are you adopting? Planning. I can't overflow this one. The place of planning in operations makes the difference between an efficient production and an inefficient one. When you're not planning properly, or you have not planned properly, you would run into problems that you have not anticipated. But when you have planned, even when you run into the problem, you already have a way that you can mitigate that problem. All right? And I can't talk too much about planning. Scheduling things, making sure that you know what you want to produce at what particular point in time, especially for those who have so many different product offerings. And that's another thing. I always advise SMEs that you don't have too many product offerings. If not, you yourself, you will get confused. But that's story for another day. If you have too many things that you are producing, you will confuse yourself and confuse it. You will confuse the market and confuse yourself. Divine favor, Wona. It's the other way around. What you want to do should determine your funding. And like I said, it is not a must for you to automate if you don't think that your product is suitable for it. But if it is and you want to pursue it, yes, why not? There are very ingenious ways that you can fund all that operation and you can help with that. So planning, scheduling, very important because it helps you to cut down on mistakes and the things that can go wrong. Overseeing, in terms of overseeing, we're talking about ensuring that at every particular part of your process, there's someone who is responsible for making sure that things go right. I've seen some people who did all the big plans, all the beautiful plans, but they leave that part of someone overseeing what is going on. And then the plans just drop down the basket. So you need a process control person who will ensure that the processes are going the way they should go. Cost. How do you ensure that you run your costs in such a way that you don't have cost overrun? Whatever it is that you have planned to spend on a process is what you are spending on that process. Cost overrun in production or in operations is one of the things that actually run businesses into trouble, especially when you are running the cost without knowing that you are running it. I call it bleeding without knowing you are bleeding. All right, so it's important for you to watch your costs, and the proper operations management will make sure that things are done according to the processes that are set out, and it produces the quality that you want, the cost that it's meant to produce it. So you need to watch those costs. Watching the costs and ensuring that you do the things that need to be done. All right? Then comes to the point of control. Point of control usually talks about quality control and ensuring that that you are consistent in your output. Your output is consistent. So I give this example. And I know there are some food places in in Nigeria that are also doing it now. Making sure that all your processes are documented. People who make food, making sure that your recipe is documented. So that if I enter one outlet today, and I go to another outlet tomorrow, the taste of the food is not different. I know a food outlet in Lagos that if you go into all of them, I like to eat their soup. If you go to all of their outlets, get the same consistent taste across all the outlets. Their pepper soup is the same thing. You get the same consistent taste across all of their outlets. One day I was discussing with one of them, and the guy said, oh, can we have a recipe? And that recipe we have reduced into the condiments that we need for the pepper soup. So all they need to do in the outlets is drop the thing, and they know the amount of water to add to it to bring it out. That's it. The same thing for their soup, and I'm sure the same thing for all the other things that they are cooking. In the heydays of, I don't want to mention the name, of one of the largest fast food outlets, brands in Nigeria, they had a central kitchen in every state where they prepare their meat pie, their sausage roll, their scotch egg, their whatever. They had a central kitchen where all those things, I didn't mention any name, Regina. They had a central kitchen where all those things were produced, and then they distributed them to all different outlets. And the baking happens in the outlet, so it's still fresh by the time the customer is going there to eat it, because that's what they promised the customer. Control. Ensuring that the control is there. Okay, I didn't mention any name. If you like, call Mr. Biggs. If you say Mr. Small, now use a big. I didn't mention any name. Okay, but that was the practice. They ensured that it's all to ensure that there's consistency in all of their outlets. Consistency in all of their outlets. All right. Now, if you go the other way, which is every outlet would produce their own, there will be variation in the way the things will taste. All right. So, how do you put control in your systems? One of the ways that you can put control in your systems is to, I've talked about documentation. So you create a standard operating procedure manual for all your different offerings. So there's an SOP. People know what to do next. They know what to document it. And that would help you in ensuring that there's control. All right. Then meeting all requirements. There are different requirements for different things. Ensuring that those requirements are met and things are done according to the way they are meant to be done. One of the challenges that I've seen with small businesses is that we tend to cut corners in some things. If you don't know what the requirements are for things that you're doing, you'll never get it right. It's not being pessimistic. It's not a cause. It's just the truth of the matter, you must understand what the requirements are and be ready. It's not just understanding the requirements, you understand the requirements and you are ready to abide and adhere to those requirements. Okay, just as a recap on this. Input, quality of input guarantees the quality of output. If you don't have the right input, you don't source input from the right places, you won't get the kind of result that you want. I know some people always wonder, why is it that I can't get this thing right? The customer is always complaining. Check your input could be wrong. You might be using the wrong quality of input to try to drive a particular quality output. Right? So you need to ensure that happens. Watch your resources. Resources are not finite, and if resources are finite, they are not infinite. So watch them. One of the challenges I see with small businesses is that people want to do so many things and you don't prioritize. And then you spread yourself thin on resources. You get halfway in all of, in fact, some you just start, you can't finish. This one you have gotten halfway, you can't finish it, and then the resources are finished. Even your human resources, you stretch yourself too much, and then you break down. So your resources you need to watch to ensure that you are committing the right resource to the right process, and you are committing the right amount of empowerment to the right resources. Okay. Okay. Strategy, make up your mind. Who do you want to be? You can't be everything to everybody. Who do you want to be? How do you want to operate? Make up your mind about it and decide. A lot of people will say, oh, if I farm out some of my processes, they probably won't do the things the way I want them to. Then sign an agreement with them. Take your time to prove a lot of people who do the same thing, and then be able to watch all of them and make sure that you pick the one and pick the ones who are best suitable to providing that value. Okay? Planning, 3 things important when you talk about operations management. It's planning, and planning. Schedule your activities. Don't just do things ad hoc. Don't have that habit of doing things the way they come. Schedule your activities. Be sure that you plan your processes, you plan your operations, you plan your production. I was talking to, I was doing some work with a company that mills rice. And we're looking at their operations. Let me see what your production plan looks like and your operation schedule. And they didn't have it. They looked at us and said, so how do you produce? Well, we just know that we need to provide, and then you leave everything just up in the air to guesswork. All right. So please plan your activities, because it's going to save you a lot of money. It will save you a lot of money. It will save you a loads and loads of hassles in your process. Don't leave things hanging. Don't leave them just like that. Have someone who would oversee your processes and ensure that the things are going the way they should. You know, when you put together an SOP, somebody has to be sure that that SOP is enforced if you want operations to go the way it should. Watch your costs, ensure that you don't have cost overrun. Put controls. Quality controls, that's important, very important, because if you get into the market and you are, and it's rejected, you still have to do the same thing. You come back and do the same thing that you failed to do. So put in quality control steps and make sure that it is being adhered to. One story that I like to talk about, I like to give people when it comes to quality control, was an advert I saw years ago. I saw the advert, but that advert was actually meant to be a marketing advert for a specific type of car. But I learned, I saw that operations, I learned an operations lesson from it. So a gentleman was employed to affix the crest of the, okay, so it was a Skoda factory. I don't know how many of us know the car called Skoda. It was a Skoda factory, and the gentleman was employed to put the crest, the logo, in front and at the back of the cars. And that assembly line is the same assembly line that all their car brands, all their car types will go through. So the first type came, the small one, the Skoda Fabia. That came, the guy put the crest in front and at the back. Another one of the Fabia front, after the Fabias ran through, the Octavia came. He put it, didn't have any problem with it. He kept putting it, like that. All the cars ran by. And then the Skoda Superb, which is the advanced car of the Skoda, came. The guy was just looking at the car. He was so bewildered that, are you sure this is a Skoda? Studio was looking at it. No, this can't be. It can be. And then the car rolled by, because there's a certain amount of time that the car has to stay in that spot before it moves on. As the car moved, the car got to the quality control point, and then an alarm went off that the car wasn't complete. And then the person who was narrating, the narrator came up and said, even our employees do not believe it's a Skoda. Now, the lesson I learned from it is that at the point of your operations, you have to put quality control checkpoints to ensure that the system going out, even if it is service, the service that you are delivering needs a certain quality level. All right? You set what those quality parameters are and ensure that things go the way they should go. And of course, be sure that you have the requirements for everything that you will do. Okay? One last thing that I would like to talk about, sorry, I put that down. We'll try to load, let me see. So I've gone ahead to talk about that. One last thing that I would like to talk about when it comes to operations management, because this is one way that people lose money without knowing that they are losing money. And that's the point of inventory management, managing your inventory. What's the inventory? Everything. Can somebody just put for me in the chat room what inventory is? Put for me in the chat room what you understand by inventory. Okay, stock taking. Okay, stock taking is the process of inventory management, stock on ground, stock taking, stock, number of stock at hand, taking record of stock. So inventory management is that, but it's the inventory itself that I'm asking. What is a list of items for production? So your raw materials, Abi, Hasanat, okay? Taking record of everything, that's the process of managing it. Inventory is stock. Olabisi, yes, stock. Keeping record, that's the process. That's inventory management. Inventory is total of all goods bought. Okay, thank you, Aqua. Stock taking. That's the process, not the thing itself. Okay, documenting it. So that's still inventory management. Okay, so at least you have an idea of what I'm talking about. So that's it. So inventory, there are three types of inventory. The first is your raw material inventory, which talks about all the raw materials that you're using for your production process. Of course, that's clear, raw material. Then there's the finished goods inventory or stock, which is the good that you have produced that has finished. And then you have one in between. That's your work in progress inventory. Now, a lot of people, when they look at managing inventory, they remember the raw material, they remember this finished good, but they don't remember the work in progress. Now, the work in progress inventory is the one that is not raw material. You have already put it inside the production process, but it has not come out as a product. Okay, so that's work in progress. It's just right in the middle there, and it's staying and waiting for. Management of your inventory is extremely important, because if you don't manage them properly, you would end up losing money without you knowing where and how you are losing money. Okay, so also, if you don't manage your inventory well, you can have a situation where you have stock out. Stock out is a situation where your finished goods stock goes out because you haven't produced enough, okay, to replenish the ones that have been sold. So at that period, you would have situations where your customers are there, there's nothing to sell, okay? So there are many practices that people do to manage that. And there's something called the okay, so I just had a blackout. Okay, there's the minimum order quantity. The minimum order quantity, meaning that you would always have an order that will meet your minimum requirements for production so that you will not have stock out. Okay, there's several things, but it's important for you to ensure that you adopt what is good for your pocket in terms of the working capital that you have, what is good for your environment. Because there are some goods that you might not have the environment to keep, which when you keep them, it goes to waste, all right? You also do what is good for your market. If your market is such that it is not seasonal, it is perennial, you have to make sure that you have goods that will always go into the market. But if your market is seasonal, you also need to make sure that your production process also goes in such a way that you produce for the seasonal market, all right? There's a concept of the just-in-time inventory management, which means your raw materials are delivered just in time for your production, okay? But that needs a lot of logistics and needs a lot of automation for you to ensure that that is kept well. The challenges that people have with inventory is the concept of keeping inventory so that you don't go into losses. And that brings me to the carrying cost of inventory. No matter what solution you adopt for managing your inventory, you have to be mindful that there's a cost to keeping inventory, whether it is finished goods inventory or raw materials inventory. Who can help me? What kind of costs can you run in keeping inventory? Mushibolaton, you said will just-in-time work in Nigeria? Yes, just-in-time is working in Nigeria. I know places where it is working, even for small businesses. Okay, but we can't talk about, okay, so the cost of the goods going back, yes. Holding costs, thank you so much, goodness. Holding costs, inventory holding costs, okay. Holding costs includes manufacturing account. I don't know what that is. Holding costs for your inventory, well, what a holding cost means is the cost it takes to keep the inventory. And there are so many things that will go into that holding cost. Thank you, kindness. There are so many things that go into that holding cost. Okay, security, keeping the conditions right. There was a particular situation where I wanted to buy a particular type of wine, and then once the wine left the warehouse and we kept it in the boot of the car, it just started popping open. And then I realized that the warehouse had to be cooled. Okay, yes, thank you, Adini. It's the expenses incurred for storing. The warehouse had to be kept cool. So they must, if no NEPA generator must come on, so that AC, imagine wine sitting inside the warehouse, there's air conditioning inside the warehouse. Human being has not gotten air conditioning, it's wine getting air conditioning, you know? But they had to keep it like that if they didn't want to lose money. All right, the one in my booth just started popping open by itself. Pop, pop, pop. I was wondering, I even thought maybe there was a bomb that was kept somewhere. Until I packed and opened, I saw that one had, you know, almost emptied. You know, the thing had, because the wine is not used to entry inside wood that there's heat, okay, decided to expose itself so that it can breathe at least. All right, so there's a holding cost, there's a cost. And one cost that people don't think of when we consider costs, inventory holding cost, is opportunity cost. Because that money that you are tying down, you could actually use it for something else that will yield you profits. All right. So I just said to mention this. Depending on what your business is, you can have any kind of way that you want to, you know, manage your inventory. Well, like I said, whatever type that you adopt is completely dependent on what you are doing and what your operation strategy is. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to ask for questions. I think we have too many things in the question and answer box which are not related to the particular session that we are having.
I'm trying to answer them, so apologies for that. So we can take some hands up. In case anybody wants to ask questions, they can we can unmute them to ask questions, because the Q&A box is just administrative stuff, which I've been trying to respond to.
Okay,
if you wanted to raise your hand to ask a question, you can do that and we will unmute you.
Okay, so there are 10 hands that are, okay, 10 hands that I can see.
Okay, Jude.
So Balikisu Hassan.
Jude.
I've requested that you.
So Balkisu, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, if she's not coming up, I'm going to go to the next person. That's Taiwo Bola. I'm just taking it as it comes up on my screen.
Also, just please bear in mind that the question should be related to operations management, please.
Okay, Taiwo, you can unmute now and speak.
Khadija, you can unmute. Khadija Usman, please unmute yourself and speak. Jude, I think you can just unmute them, and then if they're not speaking, then you can just put their hand down. Okay, Khadija Usman. Okay, Divine.
Okay, so Divine, yeah?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, Divine, good afternoon.
Thank you for this opportunity. We were talking about something related to the I think cost of production, where I made a statement about when you were talking about automation. You said
Yes.
the funds, and I made a statement that the funds might actually affect, or the funds, limited funds would affect a person transcending from manual to automation. Although I know in the different fields in Nigeria, different business fields, the decision to go automated or go manual is actually based on the field you are. Like in the area of fashion now, like you made an example of where you said some people can make dresses, like some wedding dresses are more expensive because they're handmade. So those ones are on a different level. But considering the situation we have in Nigeria and the reality of how hard it is to get finance, I feel that the fundings can affect if a person goes to get machines or anything to assist his or her business. Because, for example, I'm an artist. I draw, I paint, and all these things. And we use this kind of wooden stretchers to make like their frames for us to mount the material called canvas for us to paint on. So I have this person, like a carpenter, I usually buy these stretchers from. And I realized that a lot of my friends and other artists as well, they go to patronize him. But because he has so many customers, he's somehow laid back. So he just attend. There was a time I requested for stretchers from him in October last year. It took him 5 months to give me my stretchers, and I had paid him like 5 months down to February, when after election, that was when I got my stretchers. He had different excuses, and when I went to his office to see him and this and that, he was like, there are too many people requesting for it. And then I had this idea that, oh, okay, that's true. Since a lot of my friends are requesting for this thing, why don't I just start making my own? And then funding comes in. Oh, I don't have enough money to buy, because I had to make research and realize the kind of equipment he was using, some kind of wood cutters and all these things.
Divine.
Yeah?
You know, don't let's stretch this too much.
Okay.
You have answered the question yourself. I don't think the guy is the only one that has the equipment to do it in the whole of Nigeria.
He's the cheapest.
You see, that's the challenge.
And he creates quality goods too. It's just the time.
I'm not sure he's the only one who has that ability to create that quality. I'm not sure. I think that there are more people who can, but you have stayed within your own environment and your own sphere of influence, and you haven't challenged yourself to look out for more people who can do it. And that's why you're having that challenge. I am sure there are more people in this country who can produce stretchers. I don't know what stretchers mean, but I'm sure there are more people in this country who can produce stretchers, and they will do it. You will even be so shocked that you have them. They can even do it. They can do it better than him, and they can do it cheaper than him.
Well, according to my research,
So you need to look beyond where you are looking to be able to get more. And I always take an exception, when the first thing that we do is to throw money as an impediment to the things that we want to do. That's the last thing. It's not the first. And I'm being sincere with you. I've seen enough to know that when people apply themselves, they're able to do more without putting the finances. The finance becomes an impediment when you have tried other things. We have a lot more resources on our hands than we are willing to admit. So you need to look more inwards.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so
Next
much.
question.
Jude, you can unmute the next person, please. I would like to crave your indulgence to make your questions brief so that we can also take others' questions as well. So Jude, you can make me co-host so I can unmute if you're not able to. Obiageri, there's Obiageri. Right. In case you can also type your questions in the chat box should you have some questions as well. Just so I can take both. So for those on YouTube, we can also take your questions. So you can please type in the chat box. So Helen from YouTube says, what about stock out cost and ordering cost?
Stock out costs. Well, depending on your business, stock out costs can be in various ways and various can come in various forms. Depends on what you're doing. Of course, opportunity cost also rests within that. If you go on stock out, what are the opportunities that you miss? One of it is that your customers could actually walk away because they can't get the goods that they need. You might actually be, if your own production is such that you pay a penalty to your customers if you don't deliver to them on time, you can lose that. So those are also there. All I just wanted to point out is that as far as inventory is concerned, there are costs that are involved. When you hold inventory, there's a cost that is involved. When you don't have inventory, there's a cost that is involved. And we've talked about all of that. Right? Thanks.
All right, thank you. And then Muyi asks, how can we maintain our price due to the present economy meltdown because prices keep changing? So how do they basically optimize their operations?
I might not be able to give you a treatment for that because I don't know what your particular situation is, and I might not be able to, since I don't have the right diagnosis, I might not be able to give you a straight out treatment or answer. However, depending on the industry that you're in, people are adopting different things. So I work with a group that is into poultry. And what they try to do to keep their costs down is to make sure that at the beginning of every cycle, they order all the materials that they need. The feed, the medications, everything that they need, they order at the beginning and stock. So if the prices go up during the cycle, it doesn't affect that cycle for them. So they're able to keep their prices the way they had said it at the beginning. Now, when they are going into a new cycle, they do the same thing. So each cycle comes with its own cost and its own price. So it helps them stay better than other people. They're able to still maintain the same quality of products that they give a turnout at the end of the day. And for broilers, it's important to keep feeding them so that you so they make provision for all the feed that they would have from beginning, all the medication, so that by the time the broilers are coming out, they are coming out and the price they can still keep within what they have planned. Okay, that I can say for that one because I know it and I know their operations and I'm involved in it. But for other people, I might not be able to say because I don't know your exact situation.
All right, thank you, sir. So let me see if we have any more questions before we go back to unmuting ourselves. Barry, to answering questions from YouTube now.
Okay.
I don't see any questions. So Modupe says, is it advisable to take loan for business expansion because she needs guidance on that?
Sorry, you said what?
Is it advisable to take a loan for business expansion?
Again, this is one of those questions that telling me that there's a bird that flies in the air, has wings and has feathers. I don't know what your exact situation is. What I always tell, I don't know the kind of expansion that you want to do. I don't know what you want to achieve. But if your cash flow can carry it, and you've done your projection and you think you have the market for it, yes, why not? You can take a loan. But the type of loan that you take is now very important. We talked about mismatch earlier, capital mismatch earlier. Don't take a 90 days loan or 90 days facility to finance a 15 years asset. It's a recipe for suicide. All right. Whatever loan you are taking, be sure that it matches the use that you want to put it. But can you take for expansion? Yes. What I don't suggest to people is to go and take commercial loan for startup. You take a commercial loan to start a business, the business will die before you have the opportunity to be. This is not a doomsday prediction. It's a fact that we've seen. If you take a commercial loan to start a business that you have not proven, it's a recipe for disaster. But for expansion, because you have proven you have to contract on, you have done your projection well, you know that you have the cash flow that will carry the repayment of the loan, by all means, why not?
All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I'm sorry for the initial glitch that we had about my slides not loading on time, but it's okay. At least we eventually had a good time. For contact's sake, I'm going to put up my. Okay.
So please, I'd like to also crave your indulgence to please just send him a message and don't call because we're quite a number on this call.
Yes, please, just a message. Email preferably.
Yeah, so please send an email.
All right. So thank you so much for your attention. It's been a good time. Please, if there are questions, please send me an email and then we can engage from there. All right. Thank you. Have a nice afternoon.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you, everyone. So while we're here, I would just like to answer a few questions in regards to some of the questions I was seeing. So in regards to submitting the courses and everything. So some people are saying that they have completed. So for those under 35, so there are two categories. If you are below 35 years, you have direct access to having more than the 6 courses. And then if you have completed them, you also have the growth plan to fill. So everybody, for those above 36 years, you have 6 courses to fill as well as your growth plan. While for those below 35 years, you have a number of courses as well as your growth plan to fill. Once you fill all that, you would get your certificate. Okay. For those, I just sent an email now for those saying that they have not been onboarded. So if you have not been onboarded, kindly note that it has been done about 2-3 weeks ago, and some people have already started learning. So please do check your email, or you can go directly to the website and see if you can log in, because if you have been onboarded, you'll be able to log in. So if you go onto the website, which is main.edclearn.com, main.edclearn.com. Once you go click on it, it should take you to the login page. Put in your email address. If you can't remember, of course, if you never received the email, then click on forgot password and reset the password. You would see the password will be sent to your phone, to your email address, whereby you would be able to input it on the main website. If any case it shows you that you have not been onboarded, please, you can now send me an email. But please try as much as possible to try this method before sending the email. And then some people are saying they don't understand the growth plan, what the growth plan is. The growth plan is like a mini business plan document whereby whatever you have learned, you'd now impute it to talk about your business. So it tell you what is the marketing element of your business. You'd talk about the marketing side of your business based on that you have watched the video on marketing. That is how the business plan works, the business growth plan works. After you have filled each component of the growth plan, you would now review it, submit it, and also download a version for yourself. So that way you are able to also track some of the things and also actually continue the learning process. Okay. And then let me see what other emails, questions I'm getting. So they're very, very, very straightforward questions. For those that are getting some incentives, I finished my logo request and all that. What's next? You wait, please. Hold on while they answer you. You don't need to, that doesn't concern anyone. Because once you have filled the form, they already get it on the back end, so they're able to work on it. So Olayinka says, I got an email, I've been onboarded. I've completed my courses. Okay, please just don't worry about it. If you have already been onboarded, kindly ignore the email. But for those who have not gotten a certificate, I'll also be sharing an FAQ based on the questions and questions I'm getting on the chat, so that I'll develop an FAQ and share with us. We didn't understand about the certificate you said. So for certificate, I'll develop a frequently asked questions, and so that all the questions that we're asking and the troubleshoot, so how you can troubleshoot and bypass it. So there's like an automated email that you'd send to a bot, and then you'll be able to get your certificate sent to your mailbox immediately. So I would be sharing all those information in one document, so that everybody we're all on the same page. For certificate, if you have completed your courses, submitted your growth plan, you should get your certificate automatically in your email addresses. However, if you have not filled, for example, the post-program survey, or you have not submitted it, then that's maybe a reason why you have not yet gotten your certificate in your mailbox. So please just try and look through it again and ensure that all the documents, all the elements of that document or questions have been answered. So please, for everyone who wants the link to go in and register, it's main.edclearn.com. edclearn.com. So that is E for enterprise, D for development, C for center, learn, LEARN.com. So once you go in, click on your username. Put your email address in, click on forgot password if you don't remember your password, and it will send you a reset link to your email box. I'll still be sending this information on the Telegram group. So for those also having issues with data, I would be sharing, like I mentioned this morning, I'll be sharing a form for data issues. Please ensure that you fill that form only once, because we have seen that people have been duplicating and filling the form more than once. And please also ensure that you do not fill more than one number, because we've also gotten a situation whereby we're seeing that the same person is using the same details and different numbers. So that is like double counting. So please kindly note that we look through all those. Ensure that you fill the form once and just submit it. We would get the response, and then would double check from the list that we've shared with MTN Foundation already to ensure that your details have not been shared before now. But of course, when you have been onboarded, you would have received the data. So it's if you have not been onboarded that you may not have received the data. So thank you very much, everyone. Yes, I'll be sharing this information on the group as well, so that everyone, in case you missed any of the things, I'll also be sharing the recordings for the last 3 sessions so that we can also use that as a playback as well. So thank you very much, everyone. And I wish you all happy Independence and a great weekend ahead as well.